Hello everyone to this Tag Marshall expert session, how the Medalist Golf Club uses technology to grow revenue and deliver exceptional player experiences. I'm super excited to have Lowell Weaver with us, the owner and manager of this. You are a top 3 facility in Michigan, aren't you? According to some ratings.
Yeah, golf advisor. Yep.
Welcome and thank you so much for your time. We're really excited to have you. Let's jump straight into an introduction about your wonderful facility and how you got to own such an amazing golf course, and maybe a bit about your journey into the golf industry.
Sure. Yeah. So I went to Michigan State University, and I actually have a turf degree. Bachelor of Science, where I was a golf course superintendent for the first, I want to say 20 years of my career, building a couple courses, growing in a couple. One of the courses that I built, the owner bought the Medalist in 1999 and asked me to come over here and run it for him. So I became the general manager here from 1999 until 2017. And then myself and one other partner purchased it in 2017. So I've kind of gone through the whole gamut. I played a lot of golf. I played golf in college at Michigan State, and then I became a superintendent. So I had the grounds out there, and moved into the pro shops. And now I can stay out of the bad weather, basically, is the way I look at
it. Nice. And you did find a superintendent to fill your big boots, I believe.
Yeah, we've got a great superintendent. He's been here since 2001, and great guy, does a really good job for us.
Yeah. I think it's great to have a manager that really understands golf, because clearly you were a decent player, or probably still are. So you have that passion and really the golf background, at the same time having the superintendent and greens feel and brain, and being a manager. I think that's quite a power pack, and maybe one of the reasons why the Medalist is so highly regarded. Tell us, where do we find the Medalist? On the famous, don't tell me you dropped off. No, on the famous Michigan hand pointer.
Yeah, so basically right here. I'm not sure if you can see where I'm at with that, because I'm on my phone. So right there, right in the bottom of the palm, basically.
Okay, just a bit west of Detroit.
Yeah, about an hour and a half west of Detroit.
And yeah, so you are nicely accessible, I believe. And tell us a bit about the banquet side of things, because I believe it's quite an important portion of your business.
Yeah, like you mentioned there, so I always tell everybody we're in the middle of nowhere, but easy to get to from everywhere, because we're right between a couple of different highways and interstates. So, and we're only half a mile off of one of them, so it's pretty easy to get to. Yeah, we have a large banquet facility. As you can see on your screen there on the left, over in the woods. There's a 300-person outdoor banquet facility, which is beautiful, and do a lot of weddings and events and things over in that area, and big golf outings as well.
Fantastic. And just some of the basics about the club. You daily fee operation, what sort of green fee do you charge, and how many rounds do you do? Well, let me ask that differently. How many rounds did you do in 2019, and how many rounds do you do these days?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, COVID's been good for the golf industry. I think at least everybody in Michigan can say that. I think most of the U.S. In 2019, we did about 19,000 18-hole equivalents. This year, we're going to do about 24,500 18-hole equivalents. Our rates are they go anywhere from our high rate on the weekend morning is $72, and then it goes down to as low as $29 at after 5 o'clock in the evenings and stuff. So we have a pretty good array of price points that match the demographic that we've seen since COVID took over.
Yes. Nice. I'm really excited for you to share a few of your strategies today. I think you're quite progressive as a manager, and you're trying different things, and that's fantastic to see. So we're excited to share some of that today with our audience. Allow me to do a quick introduction on Tag Marshall. So Tag Marshall is a golf course optimization system we put a specific focus on pace and flow and traffic management, and literally can manage and track anything that moves out on a golf course. We have tracked more than 30 million rounds. I think every season a couple of million get added at this rate. We work with close to 500 golf courses, and we're very blessed to be working with some of the very best. You'll see here that there's Oakmont, Baltusrol, all the way to Pebble Beach and Whistling Straits. So really the cream of the crop. But the majority of our partners are really the good club down the road, because they want to use technology to provide a superior service and also to run a really smart business. We also work with the European Tour, the USGA, the RNA, and add value where we can. Are quite broadly connected into the US industry, which we're very grateful to have such good partnerships right across. Okay, but let's jump back in with our expert, and I have a bit of a quiz for you here. What makes or breaks a player experience? If you look at this list here: course design, conditioning, clubhouse amenities, place and flow of play, playing partners in my group, accessibility, tee time availability, cost and value. What would you say are the three that are the most important when it comes to the business of golf and when it comes to players?
Well, I think it's a combination of a few of those, obviously. I mean, they're all important, but I think the course conditioning is a huge part of it, especially your greens and fairways and things like that. But it's all part of the experience, the amenities that you offer. Of course, if you're going out there and you're playing in 5 or 6 hours, people are just going to be like, I don't want to play back there again, stuff like that. But I would say the biggest one would be the course conditioning.
And if you were to pick three: course conditioning, you mentioned, the time it takes to play, you mentioned, what would be the third one?
I think the amenities.
Okay.
Like the playing partners in the group, that's your own choice who you want to play with and don't want to play with. So that's up to the customer themselves. Yeah,
I think the big fear is do not pair me with that strange single that's just walked in, so yeah, but that's you're quite right, and it's interesting how that filters through into the research and the science behind it. So the course conditioning indeed filters all the way to the top. 82% of golfers, according to a broad USGA research, have said that is their top factor, and then very close to that is 74% of players saying pace, flow, and time of play, like you mentioned, is important. So what's interesting, and that's very recent, is 84% of operators, so that's owners such as yourself, consider pace of play key to the player experience. So there's a lot of attention being put on the subject. Are you a member of the NGCOA by any chance, the Golf Course Owner Association?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, okay. So maybe you participated in that survey that they did. It was quite insightful, and again, conditioning came out tops. What came out second this year as a focus was providing a welcoming space for female golfers. And then number 3 was 84% saying pace and flow of play. There are many, many other factors, but those were the top ranking ones. No surprises for you?
No, not at all. And I do agree that the women golfers are getting a lot more prevalent, at least in my area. So it's good that we're starting to pay attention a lot better to the ladies.
100%. I think there's 2 things that are great to see. One is that the ladies PGA Tour is just ramping up more and more, both from a competition, but also prize money, and also the eyeballs that they can pull with their competitions now. It's brilliant. And then there's a second portion to the game of golf, which is the top golf and the off course, and there's actually a higher percentage of female golfers in that, or players rather. So there's a huge opportunity to pull more lady golfers onto our courses if we play our cards right. But we have to create a welcoming space. So it's nice to see that the operators are paying attention or looking to pay attention to that.
They should be, definitely.
It's another 50%, right? It's the other half of the population. So it's a huge market that we need to try and capture and also really long-term looked after. Okay. Let me jump ahead. There's another famous piece of research that was done by the USGA with the University of Wisconsin, which is just across the lake from you guys in Michigan. And the lady here on stage is Professor Christina Schoonover, who is a customer experience, customer journey researcher, and she is also the head of golf operations at Erin Hills, the US Open host 2017, and one of our very first partners. What they researched was what are the experience factors in a golf round or in a golf experience, and they found that there are 1,000 touch points, and the touch point is as much as putting your golf clubs in the trunk. That's a touch point. Driving through the gate of the golf course. All of these are touch points, and obviously some of them rank really high in terms of what they do to the experience, and others rank really low in terms of how they may frustrate a golfer. And what they found was that the bottom ranking experience factors here are corrective pace of play actions. So that's probably your marshal coming over and grunting at the player, saying you're slow, get on with it. And at the same time, other people's speed. So if other people get in my way as a player, that's equally frustrating. That's obviously a bit of a conundrum because nobody wants to be told they need to get on with it, but also please get out of my way because I want to play at a decent pace. And at the same time, positive ranger etiquette ranked top, and that's probably because it's so unexpected. And I think the marshal and ranger role overall is sort of quite negatively viewed by golfers. It's almost crazy how polar this topic seems to be with golfers. Are you, is that what you were expecting? And what's your experience around this?
I didn't expect it to be that polarizing, but yeah, I think that as a ranger on the golf course, there are many different ways you can talk to a group. You can be the guy that goes out there and say, hey guys, you're playing slow, get moving. And that's going to be on the red area that you have on your screen there. But you can also go out there and you can educate the customer a little bit and talk to them and tell them what the issues are and stuff, and then work with them to try and understand. And then I think that's where that's the positive. I mean, so let's say you go to a group that's playing pretty slow, and what's cool with tag marshals, we can look at it and say, okay, they just had one bad hole, and so we understand that they're behind just because of one golf ball that went into the woods and they looked for a while. Or we can look at it and see if it's been multiple holes in a row, and just go out and discuss it with them, and then we actually show them on our screen, say, here's where we're at, you can see where you teed off, and here are the groups behind you, and this is what's happening. So we really want to make sure that they all have a good time as well. Could you try to pick it up or let these groups play through, and then my ranger will sometimes work with them on the next hole or two to help look, because our golf course is kind of difficult. There's a lot of woods and stuff. So he might work with them on the next hole to make sure that he helps them find their balls quicker and things like that. So I think if you anything in life these days, if you discuss it with somebody and try to explain what the situation is, I think then they're going to understand and want to help as well. It's the ones that go out there and just say, hey, you got to get your butt moving because you're holding everybody up. I think that's when they kind of like, wait a minute. So that's my opinion.
No, I think you make some great points here. The one is that it's all about how you approach people, right? And if you have a service mindset and if you're trying to assist, people will know about it immediately. But there's some keywords here that are kryptonite to golfers. One of them is slow. Don't call a golfer slow. So I think being out of position or catching up a little bit is good, and then most people will understand. And the other point that you raised is it's great to have data, actual accurate data, because without that, the poor ranger or marshal doesn't really have much of a leg to stand on, because the players will always have an excuse why the group in front of them is holding them up, right? So if you have accurate data, then it can be a fact-based conversation. It's not confrontational. But I think maybe one of the takeaways at this point is that why do we even call this a marshal or ranger? And if we're here to assist players, why not call it a player assistance? Even we made courses that call them course ambassadors. It just changes and repositions the role, and often that is all that it takes for people to listen. But you made some comments around the technology that you use at the Medalist. So maybe a good segue to talk to that. How's the Medalist using technology to improve the play experience? Yeah, so why don't you talk for a minute as to which of these setups that you're using, and then I'll fill in the blanks for those other portions of the system, just very high level, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, we have very few walkers at our facility, so we don't utilize the walking groups. We probably get maybe 2% of our golfers. Everybody takes a cart here. So we use the carts, obviously, track the carts, and things along those lines. And then our staff and management uses it. We have one right at the pro shop. Our superintendent has one. And I like your idea of a course ambassador, because truthfully, that's what the ranger is an ambassador. They're either going to make it or break it for a lot of the people out there on the golf course. So we utilize those two aspects of it.
Yeah. We're going to look at that just now. So it's that two-way GPS system. Other clubs prefer to have what we call our classic tag, which is just installed in the golf cart. We do have an option that notifies player when they breach a geofence, which is quite handy. And then the walking side of things, we also have a classic tag and a two-way option, and these just send data to our system and also get data back from our system. And the system often has been called a Waze or Google Maps of course traffic management. And maybe, yeah, we should take a look what that looks like at a golf course. On the right, here's the Medalist this morning. Not a lot of golf out. And tomorrow, this will just be a blank map, won't it? Because the weather's coming in for you guys.
Yeah, for the most part, I agree.
So you have this on your computer, and you also have a tablet or an iPad for the people that do those course ambassador duties and go out. Maybe just talk for a minute what you see here at a glance from your sort of control tower, and how does that help you?
Yeah, so we a couple of things. I mean, we love the bottom part of it, where it shows where the carts are. It changes colors a little bit based on their time and things along those lines, but it helps us in so many ways. We can see where the golfers are. We can also, like, we have some members sometimes that come out and they say, hey, where's Steve Jones at? And we can look on here and say, okay, yeah, he teed off at 812. He's on cart 42. There he is. He's right there on 13. So a lot of those ways, or people want to come in and say, okay, is there any way I can start off the back? You can see where the carts are if there's anybody on 8 or 9 or something like along those lines. But yeah, we utilize it all the time, constantly, and look at and see if there's a group that's starting to become a problem. I shouldn't say problem, starting to slow down a little bit and may cause a problem down the road. We try to catch it before it becomes one, because as you know, if you're a golfer, sometimes by the time it's an issue on the 8th hole, the group's back on 3 or just standing on the tee waiting forever, because it's just like a highway. You get somebody slow in the left lane, and a mile back everybody's just at a standstill. So we try to catch it before it becomes a problem, when it's only just a few minutes, and then we just keep an eye on that group. And if we need to send them a little nudge or something, or see what's going on, we go out and do that.
Yeah, I think the highway analogy is a good one, and it really is. If the train stops, it stops, right? And you need to know when that happens so that you can intervene. But I think the system that you have implemented with the screens, which you're going to look at just now, helps you do that actually from the pro shop. Maybe we should, let's just quickly look at the sidebar. So we've identified this group number 42 is slowing down. They're impacting the group behind them. They're now 12 minutes out, and you can see the hole by hole. So they had a few bad holes. So here's where you can make a judgment call. Okay, this is probably worth having sending them a note, so making sure they're aware. How would you then escalate that if it doesn't get better? What would you do next?
Yeah, so exactly. We sent them a kind little note saying, just to let them know that it looks like you've fallen behind a little bit. Please try to play ready golf to catch up to your pace for the golfers behind you. So in other words, we're trying to say, okay, you're playing a little slow, but we're trying to help the golfers behind you. And if it looks like after a hole or two that it hasn't helped, then we actually go out there and discuss with them what's going on. Sometimes, like I said, we'll have the tablet, and it might be just one group behind them, and there's nobody behind that group. And so we might just discuss with them and say, rather than, you guys trying to really hurry to stay in front of these guys, how about letting this group play through? Then you can take a decent amount of time, enjoy yourself out here, and then they can enjoy themselves as well. So it depends a little bit on what's behind them, what's going on. But yeah, the second aspect would be going out to discuss with them and see what we can do to help.
You mentioned that the Medalist, it's got quite a few wooded areas, and maybe you don't have the line of sight necessarily even as a player. Yeah, just how does that then work? Like, you may go out to a group and have a conversation, and they're not even aware that that they're holding up others. Like, how do you go about educating them?
Yeah, it's funny because there's sometimes you'll go out to a group and you say, "Hey guys, you're playing a little slow," and they'll say, "There's nobody in front of us," and I'll kind of say, "Well, that's the point. There should be." It's funny how that happens so often, but really, at our golf course, there's 14 of the 18 holes. You don't see anybody else on the golf course except for the people right in front of you, right behind you. And so you'll go out to a group and you'll say, "Hey, you're kind of holding these guys up behind you," and they say, "Well, they haven't really waited." Well, the problem is that they have to wait for you to get off the green before they can hit to the green. And then by the time you get to the next screen, they're waiting against, but they don't see them kind of standing there because of the fact that they had to wait on the hole before. So we show them on the screen to say, here's, as you can see, these are the guys that are behind you, and they're being held up, and they are right behind you, even though in the group behind them is right behind them type stuff. So there again, it's just an education of showing them what's going on so they can actually understand it at that point, instead of just seeing that one foursome behind them thinking that they're just wanting to play through when there's a bunch of other groups behind them.
I think that's a really kind and assisting way of going about things, and that probably goes a long way with regards to the player experience. Plus, you're making everyone else's day better by taking care of the challenge. Here is another sort of system aspect that comes in very useful. is called a track map. So every single round that gets played has this sort of tracking mode, and you can then see how the hole went for these players, and also when were their notes sent out, or were there any geofence breaches. It's like a record basically, and you can see this group had a bit of an unhappy day. They came through quite slow, and then there was on point there was a note sent out and probably a conversation had, and then very often you can actually save that, and up here you can see a course assistant with a tablet in hand. They've got the information, know exactly where to go. Yeah, so in terms of every now and then you might get a group, and very often perception becomes reality for golfers. They may feel it felt like 6 hours out there, and they come into the clubhouse and they want to have a conversation, maybe score a freebie or something like that. Then how can you use the data to have a fact-based conversation rather than say, whatever you want, you're the customer?
Yeah. In this world today, everybody seems to exaggerate in both directions. If it is a group playing slow, they'll say, I was only out there for 4 hours and 10 minutes, and in reality they're out there for 4.5 or 5 hours, whatever it might be, and vice versa. I've had many groups come in at the turn and say, boy, it's slow out there, it's taking forever. And I'll look at their cart and I'll say, okay, well, sir, it took you 1 hour and 54 minutes to play the front nine. I mean, that's really not bad for our facility. We're rated at 4 hours and 14 minutes with the Golf Association of Michigan. So anything less than that isn't bad. But I'll talk to that gentleman and say, it's only been 1 hour and 54 minutes, and look up at the clock with him and kind of go through the math. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess it isn't that bad. It just seems like it. So there again, I don't say, no, you're wrong. I just kind of say, well, I think you're off a little bit, and then we try to discuss it with them, and hopefully they walk to the 10th tee a little bit happier.
Yeah, it's again, like, it's good to have the information and the data, and I think also, just jumping ahead, it's good for the players to have the information, right? And I think that's where the screen that accompanies them, on their round, basically informs them, and also you can ping them a message when you're feeling they're falling out of position. How have the players responded to this? Are they enjoying it? And also, are you making use of the to the flag or to the pin functionality, and is that working for the players?
Yeah, and to piggyback on what we talked about just a second ago too, on the bottom of the screen where it does show, you're in the green or red based if you're ahead of pace or behind pace, that I'll have groups that come up and say, boy, it seems like it's slow out there, but I'm ahead of pace, so I'm actually not bad. So kind of a lot of the golfers that have played here many times understand how that works now, and can just kind of base it off of that. We do use to the flag. So our superintendent each morning goes out, sets every pin, sets it right to the flag. And in our opinion, it speeds up play. I mean, I have a lot of different people that play here quite often that they said they really don't even use their rangefinders anymore. They just park the cart and hit it and go. So I think it speeds up play quite a bit.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. You do need to hit the green though.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking, but I think it's that's great to hear, and I do think that self-awareness piece is quite important. But what I also, and I mentioned and I promised our audience that you do things a little bit differently, so I'm quite excited to for you to share how you have really set up quite a progressive food and beverage strategy. So let me just jump one over, and obviously that GPS screen plays a role in that for you. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing here and how, and because this I have not seen before.
Oh, okay. Well, great. Hopefully everybody likes it. But yeah, we have about 110 items on our food and beverage menu. So we have anything from a bottle of pop to a hamburger, 6 packs of beer, liquor, all that kind of stuff. So you can be anywhere on the golf course at any time and order anything you'd like, and we'll deliver right to you. And we use that picture that you have there. That's our delivery cart, so to speak. We have 2 of those, and it's a pizza topper is really kind of what it is. But we take those out on the course and deliver the food and beverage. And what it does is, so I have on they can hit it anywhere, but on the 7th green, I have it pop up as a little ad, so to speak, that says, hey, if you're hungry or thirsty, order and we'll bring it out to you. And we found that it's really sped up people at the turn. Our 9th green to the 10th tee is right next to each other, but to come up to the clubhouse it's a 45-second drive. And then, as you know, you're in there for a minute or two waiting for stuff. So it slows everybody down about 5 minutes at least when you make the turn. But people order on the course, and they can get it right on the course. The other thing that helps is that when we don't have a really busy day, like today, for example, I don't need to have a beverage cart out there. So I'm saving on a beverage cart, but I'm giving the customer an amenity and a service that's even better than a beverage cart. Because even on busy days, so if you're a golf course and you have 1 or even 2 beverage carts out there, the golfer's waiting probably an hour in between each trip. Here, they can place that order and we'll have it to them in less than 5 minutes. And they can order, and it's not just drinks like you get from a beverage cart. It's burgers, it's hot dogs, it's chicken fingers, it's all that kind of stuff. So they can get full meals out there if they want. So it's really been beneficial to us. We've our bottom line revenue has increased tremendously when we started doing the deliveries on the golf course.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic initiative, and I do believe that you're also quite good around staffing appropriately. Obviously, you've got a tight season being in Michigan. Tomorrow it's all over, as we've heard. But how do you go around about your staffing and also training your team to really tune into that service mindset and getting doing things differently than many other golf courses? Like, what's the secret?
I don't know if it's a secret. It's just kind of worked for us anyway. We have a staff in the summer between the pro shop, restaurant, banquets, and kitchen and everything, around 30 people. I take those 30 individuals, and most of them are high school and college kids. I just think that there's a lot more energy by having young kids around. I tell everybody, I get older every year, but the staff stays the same age. So they kind of keep me young. But I take that staff of 30 each, and they get cross-trained to do everything. So that same person that might wait on you in the pro shop in the morning, you might see pulling out carts in the afternoon, and then waiting on you as the wait staff in the restaurant in the evening or something. So they move to wherever the business is busy. And so if the restaurant gets really busy, we send somebody from the pro shop upstairs. If the pro shop gets really busy, we send somebody from the restaurant down to the pro shop, and the deliveries are the same way. It's okay. We got a couple of deliveries going out. We want to send somebody from, and we do that. So I think that by cross training them all, first of all, it kind of gets them some nice experience for their lives, because they're, like I said, they're usually young kids and this is their first job, and it's kind of cool seeing them come out of their shell, because everybody's shy when they're kids. But it just helps us with the customer, because they'll never hear from my staff, that's not my job, that's somebody else's job. It's our job, period, and we take care of it. And so therefore, whatever they need, we have an employee that can take care of that for them.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, and I think the ratings that you're attracting and also the repeat play that you're attracting speaks for itself. So well done for getting that right. But it doesn't happen by mistake; it happens by design, and also lots of learnings on the way. And I'm sure that here or there there's a smart kid that teaches you something, right?
Oh yeah. It's amazing, especially technology with our kids and stuff like that. I encourage my staff to come up with ideas and thoughts and things and I run with them if they're good. I have no ego issue with saying, hey, that's a great idea, let's go with it, because it's amazing. I mean, they talk to my customers more, as much as I do. They see what's going on, they hear what's going on. So when they have some ideas, it's great to encourage them, because then they feel like they're part of the process too.
No, 100%. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for explaining that. Let's jump on to the next section. What operation efficiencies have you been able to achieve by automating pace of play management? I think quite clearly you can put a lot more focus on what drives revenue for you, but you still want to pay attention, right? I think you mentioned some of these points that are just here as notes, but from a efficiencies point of view, what would you think are the key highlights for your team and for yourself in terms of time savings and so on?
Well, I think that you mean for the golfer or for my staff?
No, for your team and for yourself. Yeah, just utilizing technology.
Yeah, so with the GPSs, we can see where everybody's at. We can see what's going on. We can keep track of the golfers on the course. We can like the deliveries, for example. So you might place a delivery for an order for a hamburger, which the kitchen has to make, which might take 10 or 15 minutes. So by coming down to the pro shop, we can see exactly where that cart is now, because when it comes in, it tells us where the order was placed. So we know roughly where they are, but we see exactly where they are. So they can take whatever shortcut they need to, because they might be on the 2 holes later now to take that delivery, or they might be right there. And so we use that quite a bit. The two-way messages really helps with me with staffing, because I'll have days that we aren't really that busy. So I don't really need a ranger out there, or a course ambassador, as I'm going to start calling it. Thank you. So I don't necessarily need that, but as we all know, it only takes one group that can hold up everybody. And so I can do that with a two-way message and just explain to them what's going on. Or I've also had conversations where we've had like a customer's wife calls in and says, hey, is he out on the course? I can't reach him on his phone. I can send them a message, because I know where they teed off and where they're at. And that message gets to them right away and stuff too. Instead of me sending a customer or an employee out there, which might take 5, 10, 15 minutes for them to get out there and back. So the two-way messages have been very important to us, and they really help us with the communication with our customers and stuff like that. Food and beverage orders obviously as well.
I think maybe worth mentioning the ability to message everyone out, like when there's a bad weather coming in. Is that something that you're using?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've done that with when we've had some bad weather coming in. I try to, when I see bad weather and I know it's coming, I try to actually send it out to the customer and get them in the golf course just before I'll say the rain hits. Because I've found if I can get them in the door before the rain hits, I can get them to buy a couple of beers and stick around for a half hour until the rain goes away, and then go back out and play. Whereas if they get soaked, they're done. They want a rain check and they're come back another time. So not only does it keep me from basically not being able to sell another tee time because they're going to use a rain check, but also I sell a couple of beers in the meantime and stuff too. So whenever we see a storm coming through and it's not going to be a long one, yeah, we send that message out and get it to them. And it's kind of cool because you can see all these carts all of a sudden coming back to the clubhouse, and we get them inside and keep them dry and keep them warm and get them a couple of beers or pops and then hand them back out again.
Yeah, that's when your team gets ready with the beers. That's fantastic. I think maybe also worth looking at some of the data that sort of underpins your efforts with the live management of the pace of play. And like we said earlier, when the train stops, it stops, and then everyone behind hurts. So here's firstly, your season, and this is your first season on the program. You've come through almost like clockwork every month, July, August, September, at 3 hours 56. So you are quite significantly under your target goal time, which is, I think you already set a little bit stiffer than the USGA had ascertained. So this is great. That means at the Medalist I can play under 4 hours. It's official. Obviously, this is an average, right? So there may be some days, and it's not easy to run big outings, right? But I think this is a good indication. And then another thing that's interesting for you to look at is across all of this data, how your day starts up really quickly. So between 7 and 8, you're actually playing at 3:13, and then 8 to 9, you're playing at 3:50. So your key time where things are a little bit slower, and obviously that's super busy, is 4:07 between 9 and 10. So that's when you want to pay attention. Much like you mentioned earlier, you can really now identify when are those times, when are those days that we need to be focused and have a resource at the ready potentially. To what extent are you going to use this information also now end of season to potentially look at planning for next year, and what learnings do you think you might take from that info?
Yeah, I have not looked at this yet, so I'm going to absorb it some more. But my initial thing is that I'm going to utilize this to talk about our pace of play, that we are, I'm going to say, a championship tough golf course, but yeah, we still average under 4 hours. In Michigan anyway, there's a lot of communication between the golf courses about how slow it is these days, and the fact that we've been able to keep our pace of play at a decent time. And now I can see what where we have issues and times and things like that. We'll look at those. I mean, we have an 18-hole golf league out here that plays in less than 4 hours, which golf leagues play 9 holes in 3 hours most of the time. So, and I think that just having that screen that shows them where they're at, and us working with them, I think it kind of, I'm not going to say ingrains, but kind of lets them be aware of what's going on, because I think that's the key is if you let people that are avid golfers, make them aware of what's happening and what's going on around them, I think then they'll try to make sure that everybody has a good time.
No, you're 100% right. I think there's a huge opportunity in communicating this, like you said, and you should use it all over your social media, because it's something to be proud of. And again, it doesn't happen by chance. It happens by design and because you pay attention to it. But that 356, that tells you two things. One is a sub-hour round, very much what you're going to get at the Medalist, but also there's really no reason to play 4 hours 30, right? So there's no excuse. And if you have a bit of awareness and understand ready golf, you should certainly be able to get through in a good time and contribute towards this. Then there's one other opportunity here, in that your early times are quite quick, and so what other clubs sometimes do is they actually sell that as fast lane rounds. So they say, you want to play in under 3:30, we have some tee times for you, go and sign up. And guess what, there is a portion of players that are willing to pay a little bit more for that, sometimes 25% more. So it can actually become a dynamic pricing variable almost, and it can be sold as a special treat. So it's not just the first round out, but we can actually design 8 or 10 tee times in the morning that we can really give you that quick 18 experience. So those are opportunities, and we'd love for you to discuss that with our with our customer success team, because they've seen this a lot and help people design strategies, and then just go and test it out, see if it works for you guys.
Sure.
Okay, brilliant. Let's jump ahead. Maybe if you'll allow me, just one quick look at this pie down here. So this is what we call the pace distribution, that shows what percentage of this month play was 30 minutes quicker, 20, 10 on pace exactly, within 10 minutes slow, and or out of position rather. And that really gives you a good indication of how that average came to be, right? But I do think the fact that most of your days are green, which is like on pace, or just a couple of minutes over, that really shows the quality. And I would guess that on the 15th of September, you must have had a huge outing. So that is impossible to manage, or that's your next challenge rather to manage.
Yeah, we do quite a few outings, so it'd be kind of cool to go through this information and pick out the days where we didn't have outings, because outings are going to be slow. There's just no way around that.
Sure.
Look at the days that didn't have outings and see what kind of a time frame we had for those days. I bet it'd be even better.
No, that'd be great for you to look through and then obviously learn from, and then also sit down with your superintendent here or there. I know that you think like that already, but sometimes maybe your setup has been on the tough end, right? And maybe that's had an impact. But that's all great, and that's all the things that you can do if you have the information to work with. And speaking of superintendents, here's one of the items that a lot of them find really interesting, over and above wanting to see the live play, because maybe they can get some more work done if they can see a big gap in the field somewhere. But this is a heat map that shows where do the golf carts go, where don't they go, where do they spend a lot of time. Do you think that this could be interesting for you yourself, obviously as a superintendent, educated manager, but also your superintendent to potentially look at now in the off season that you've got a bit of time?
Yeah, so our superintendent does have this on his phone, and he looks at it when he's trying to send employees out to certain areas, like where are we busy, where are we not busy, because as a superintendent, you realize when you have golfers, you have to slow down and wait for them. So you can get more work done by sending them to different holes and going back and forth. As far as the heat maps go, yeah, I've worked with him a little bit on this. And as a superintendent, like let's say it's a drought type area going on right now, and there's not a lot of rain coming down. So our irrigation system is only so good, and it's mostly fairways and greens and tees and stuff like that. But you find that if there's a certain area where there's a lot of carts going there, it's going to dry out and burn out pretty quickly. So we look at this once in a while and we say, okay, it's getting pretty dry. Their superintendent knows that those are the areas he's going to have to go watch and look at to see if he needs to put some extra water in those areas, because the carts will cause some damage when it's drought and get dry. So he uses it, yeah.
That's fantastic. That's exactly the intention. And we even have courses that use this to manage even irrigation adjustments, and sometimes they might even adjust the grass they have out to something that's really low maintenance if there's areas that never see any traffic, or even make design adjustments or renovation adjustments. So it's again, like it's all about taking a deep dive and digging into data and helping it inform you.
It's there, you should use it. My opinion.
I need to keep us on pace. That's my job as the course ambassador. So the key question, obviously, you're all about the player experience, but are you generating additional revenue? Is that working out for you?
There's no doubt. I mean, you combine the fact that we can keep a good pace of play because of the GPS, is the fact that we offer an amenity that it shows, for people that haven't played here, it shows all the topography of the course and where there's water hazards, things like that. Yardage right to the flag, the food and beverage ordering system. We do a ton of golf outings with live scoring that we utilize with Golf Genius and stuff. I mean, this amenity that we've added has just been, and I did have a GPS system before you guys, so we did the food and beverage before us, but over the years, and perfected it and stuff. It's not even a question mark to me how much we're able to generate because of having a GPS system on our golf carts and the way that we utilize it. We don't just set it there and let it go. We utilize it. And if you utilize it, you can do a lot of good things with it.
Yeah, and I think that is a good message, because any technology is only as good as the people driving it, right? It's not a magic wand. You have to go and put the effort in, but then you get the results. And it's great that you're confirming that. Yeah, so this is the time when, let's see if there's any questions that are coming in. And I would also love, I know you've met Ashley Bryant, our partnership executive. She's been up at the Medalist. Ash, can you turn on your video and say hi quickly? Oh, there she is.
Hi, Bordo. Hi, Lowell. It's good to see you again.
Nice to see you, ma'am.
How did you find the Medalist when you went up to visit? You were there not so long ago, weren't you?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago. It was great. Lowell and I had the opportunity to spend some time talking about your season, and I mean, obviously you're very busy, so I appreciated the time and just some learnings after your season. And you know, there was actually one thing that struck me and that has stayed with me since we spoke, is the creative way that you're using the advertising module. I don't want to share too much, give away your secrets, but you had one message which was great, and it was perfectly placed as well on the course. So you had areas where people lost a few balls, and you had a pop-up that said, lost some balls, we deliver. And I think that is such a great personal touch. So it's adding to the experience, but then you're also benefiting from the additional revenue that creates. So yeah, that's fantastic. And I think I can also speak for Deborah from our customer success team when I say that we love all the ideas that you have and that you share with us about how we can partner and improve going forward as well.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that. You know, you guys are very receptive too, which is awesome. I hope I don't push the buttons too often.
Never.
Okay, there's one question that's come through, Lowell, and that is, how did your team respond to implementing Tag Marshal? Obviously, they needed to now learn a new system. How's that gone?
It's gone well. You know, I have a really good staff. I have a lot of people, and when I hire individuals, I say, you know what, you don't need to know about golf. I don't care if you can hit a ball 300 yards. I don't care if you played 1,000,000 rounds in your day or if you even play golf. All I want them to do is to care. And you know what, if they care, then they're going to want to do things that are good, because they're going to see, you know, the customer can tell if an employee cares or if they want to be here. And so part of that situation is to learn how to work with this system and things. And they all, you know, it's mostly younger kids, so it's easy for them to pick up stuff. It was me that took all winter to try to figure it out. So no, they didn't have any issues at all. We had a couple learning curves on trying to figure out basically the colors of the carts when they were purple and red and yellow and stuff like that. But no, it's been very easy. And the fact that we had a system before that kind of had them halfway there, and so it was really easy for my staff to do that. And you know what, it's easy to work with. It's easy to you know, all the amenities, adding the food and beverage and doing to the pin and stuff. It's very easy, so it's not difficult at all.
That's fantastic. Thanks for the feedback, and I like your hiring policy. It clearly works. Yeah, no, now we're excited to help you dig into the data a bit more ahead of the next season, and maybe implement some of those next strategies that you can just squeeze a little bit more out of your tee sheet, and it's all helps. Like, it's all adds to the bottom line, and that's the name of the game. At the same time, we want to make the players happy, and that's something that you guys do really well. Okay, I think we've reached our full time. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. It's great to chat to you. Ashley, also thanks for popping in. You made some great points here too. I think we can probably talk for another hour around the progressive and innovative ways in which the Medalist runs the operation, and maybe we should have another session next season. Who knows? Yeah, so really appreciate it. You must enjoy your last day, and then obviously I hope that you do get some time off, and hopefully see you down at the PGA show in Orlando.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining, and take care, everybody.